Now, we're here at BYD Global Headquarters to do a bit of a tour. I believe there is some sort of exhibition or museum here, so that's what we're going to move on to next. Hi everyone, David here from Beyond EV, and this is going to be a narrated walkthrough of the BYD Global Headquarters in Shenzhen, China. And if you haven't seen it, the headquarters building itself is a big pentagonal building, not dissimilar to the Pentagon in the US, and this is where all the action happens. And as soon as you walk through the front doors, you enter this big lobby that you see here, and there's a number of display cars on the floor. As you saw, the Thai 3 and the Young 1 U9 is there on the floor. And past that main lobby is the cafe, which also doubles as a gift shop. And I was here in May 2025 as part of the Australian and New Zealand media tour, and you'll see a lot of the other journalists here as well. So, very interesting BYD t-shirts here, including this one. Look familiar? Didn't realise Optus had a collaboration with BYD, but there you go. Once you get past the gift shop and open lobby, this is the main exhibition floor, and you're met with this large, wide screen, which will go through essentially what is the mission statement for BYD. So I'll keep quiet for a little bit, and I'll be back once it's finished.
Some people say that the energy we consume today is left by our ancestors, borrowed from our descendants. Over the past 10 years, the consumption rate of fossil fuels is about 1 million times greater than the rate of natural formation. How long can these fossil fuels last? 50 years for oil, 65 years for natural gas, 200 years for coal, even the uranium mines for nuclear power will not last more than 100 years. Where is Noah's Ark to save mankind? People have found the solution from the sun. Using solar technology to generate clean, renewable energy. However, due to day and night cycles and seasonal changes, the total supply of solar energy is far less. BYD launched a battery energy storage power station, which not only makes energy mobile and distributable, it has a utilization rate of more than 90%. Once upon a time, cars gave people an imagination of endless possibilities. But if every family owns a car, where will the gasoline come from? Where will the exhaust go? As early as 1873, practical electrical vehicles had been produced. However, high cost, low capacity, and insufficient safety of the batteries led to green electric vehicles being ruthlessly abandoned by the market. BYD has found the answer to this global scale problem. The world's safest blade battery launched by BYD solves the problem of electric vehicles, making electric vehicles accessible to all. Working together, ground-level public transportation systems and underground subways, BYD is dedicated to solving social problems using green technology to build smart, connected, modern cities.
Apologies for the low volume. I was just filming this through the microphone of the camera, so luckily there's some subtitles there so you can see what was actually said. But on with the tour, once we see that mission statement video, we go into this little section that is behind that screen. And this first chart that we're showed goes through the economic growth that BYD has accomplished over the last 30 years since their inception back in 1995. And you can see in the last 3 years in particular was when they saw their largest increase in terms of revenue. And next to that, along the wall directly behind that screen, is a timeline of major milestones and achievements that BYD has gone through over the years. As you can see, there's 2003 where they signed the battery deal with, I believe it was Nokia at the time, and then it goes through some of the other business centers that they expanded into: buses, trucks, monorails, and then on to their later stage with the likes of the Yangwan U8. And directly behind the screen is their patent wall. Now, this is on the other side of that large screen. These are all the patents, or at least some of the patents that BYD has filed, and just gives you an idea of the amount of technology that they've developed over the years. Moving along, and there is an Artisans Wall of Fame, and this pays homage to some of BYD's designers and engineers across the years, and then goes through some of their expansion areas that they've delved into. So coming out the other side, and we're now heading into the section to the right of the screen, and this is where you see this little beauty here. This is the BYD E-Seed GT concept car, and I believe this was the first concept that Wolfgang Eger designed for BYD, and this pretty much opened the doors to what we know now as the Dynasty series. And next to that, there is an exhibition of the major brands and marks of BYD, and you can see here the BYD Dynasty and BYD Ocean series flagships, and you've got Fangcheng Bao, and then Denza, and of course the premium Yangwan at the end. And you'll see on the wall there's a bit of an explanation of what each of these brands aims to be. Feel free to pause at any time to have a closer look at it. And directly opposite that is the BYD E-Platform 3.0 Evo platform, a sort of cutaway platform to give you an idea of what the platform actually looks like. And we don't actually get this here in Australia, but this is present on the BYD C-Line 7 Excellence, the top spec C-Line 7 available in Europe and the UK. And this platform utilizes BYD's faster motors, and as well as some increased efficiency from the battery and other components that operate on the platform as well. Next to that, there is a diagram that goes through the intelligent architecture that's built into BYD vehicles, and this one in particular shows all the camera arrays found on the Yangwan U8, as well as some of the drive controllers and computer controllers and where they're located inside the vehicle. So this vehicle, there's all the cameras located all around it, and each one's numbered. Can't recall how many in total there are, but I believe it's somewhere around 20 altogether, I believe. And next to that, you've got an example of the DMI hybrid platform, and this is the front-wheel drive that you'll find on the likes of the C-Line 6 and soon to come to Australia, C-Line 5. And next to that is the DMP platform, the performance version of that DMI. Now, heading back, so now we've gone back around that main screen and now we're heading to the left side of this exhibition. And up the front, I actually posted a short about this back when I came back from this trip in May. This here is a miniature scale model of BYD's vehicle assembly process. And this thing is cool because what it actually does is build a little mini car. Now, it doesn't obviously weld all the stuff together or paint it or anything like that. It's just a demonstration, but you'll see a little chassis roll on and the robots will pick up the side of the car and it will place it onto the chassis and then it moves along, and then the next robot will put the other side on and the next robot will put the roof on, and then there's like a simulated weld to show it's all getting stuck together. But I actually thought this was pretty cool because it starts with just the chassis floor and then it moves along and these robots end up turning it into the car that you see going underneath into that next section there. And it even does show fake welding as well. It has this like little spark and light show thing that simulates welding. Obviously it's not welding, but it's pretty cool to see in this little miniature demonstration that's in the exhibition.
That's so cute. But I have to say that they are not really doing the welding. It's just like a simulation. So they're going to replace those components downstairs.
So the next section is the automatic painting production line, and this shows you how BYD automate the painting of the vehicle. As you can see, it's going through a bath at the moment and then goes into the next room where it's then sprayed the color that the vehicle will end up being. I don't think it actually sprays it. I think that's just like air jets or something like that. The next section is the automatic assembly line, and this is where a lot of the extra fittings and components are automatically fitted to the car. You can see the spare wheel cover there, and the wheels are all automatically applied to the car. And this gives you an idea of the level of automation they get. A lot of other automakers would do all this manually, like someone would have to physically lift the wheel on the car and then it's bolted on. BYD's assembly line is automated, so all of that is done automatically. And at the very end, I know through the factory tour that we did that this is called the OK line. That's what they call it at the end when the car comes out and it goes through all those lights, and it's there to check if the car is okay to leave the factory. Next up around the side is the nail penetration lab, and what they're going to do here is show us a demonstration of how safe BYD's LFP blade battery cells are.
I'm self-conscious.
Market considering it has like a higher energy density, like those raw materials like nickels and cobalt. However, they could be like less stable, and also they are hard to be recycled. So once there is like a car accident, there could be like a potential threat to the people inside. That's why we turn to our blade battery. We change the raw material. Now we're using lithium phosphate. So compared with the NCM battery, this one is much more stable. And even for the raw materials, about like 80% now can be recycled. Okay, now we just wait for.
So on the right side, there is an NCM battery pouch, which they're going to puncture with that nail. And that violent explosion that you see is typical of an NMC pouch style battery. It's very energy dense, and the escaping gases that come out of it are highly flammable. Now, as you can see, the nail being driven through BYD's LFP blade battery shows no catastrophic explosions. In fact, there is no explosion. What tends to happen is there is a slight increase in temperature. It goes up to about 60 degrees, but that's it. It doesn't expand or blow up into flames like the pouch-style batteries do, which is what makes BYD's LFP blade battery packs one of the safest, if not the safest, EV battery pack in the world. And across from that, there's a little demonstration of BYD's Skyrail vehicles that they also manufacture. They do make monorail systems. They've got maybe 3 or 4 around the world. I think there's one in Chongqing, and I think actually there's one in South America as well, but I can't recall where. But it is a growing market for them. And that covered everything on the ground floor of the exhibition, and now we've got to head up to the second floor to continue the tour, and there's a nice view of the lobby. And when we head into the second floor, this dives into a bit more detail around the individual technologies and business units that BYD deal in. And heading around to the left, the first business unit that they go through is BYD Electronics, BYD's electronics manufacturing arm. And they show you a demonstration of their precision manufacturing techniques by displaying laser-etched eggs there on display. But a lot of people don't know that BYD are quite a large, not just a contract manufacturer, but an ODM, an original design manufacturer as well. They design a lot of electronics, which are then branded for well-known brands around the world. And you'll see here some of the parts that they make for some of the major players around the world. As you can see here, there's Galaxy Z Flip 4 case, as well as cases for HTC. The Galaxy S25 Ultra, there you go. The case for the 25 Ultra is made by BYD. BYD are one of the leading producers of phone cases. So the outer shell on your phone, whether it's glass or ceramic or metallic, there's a very high chance it was manufactured by BYD. They don't manufacture the whole phone for a lot of these makers, but they manufacture individual components, and the back casing is one of the ones that you'll find on a lot of phones. So pretty much all Oppo phones, all Huawei phones or Vivo phones will use BYD outer cases. As you saw before, Samsung use their cases a lot on their premium flagships, the S25 Ultra. They also make the cases for a lot of laptop and tablet brands as well. You can see Asus there. And then after the case and component manufacturing, it goes a little bit more into battery manufacturing. So FinDreams is the name of the business unit for BYD's battery manufacturing capability, and this goes through some of the devices that FinDreams will develop. And look, individual pieces of the cell are on display as well. So you can see the end cover for the blades that you'll find in your BYD, as well as laptop batteries. And you can see here, it appears they make batteries for Samsung, as well as the likes of Huawei. And you saw a Lenovo laptop battery there as well. So even though it has a Samsung brand on the battery pouch, very, very high chance the pouch was actually manufactured by BYD. Moving on to a few more of the battery products that they manufacture, including cylindrical battery cells, as well as your typical pouch-style cells for sometimes other vehicles of other brands. This is an interesting comparison. What you see here, this first pack, this is the original BYD Atto 3 battery pack cell. It used to have an NCM battery when it was first released, but then it moved to the BYD LFP blade battery that it's known for now. So this is the cell that you'd find in the Atto 3 you have at your home, but it did initially come with an NCM battery. Moving on, and we're now moving into the commercial battery side of things. This is the BESS business unit, so large-scale grid backup battery products. BYD are one of the world's leading manufacturers of grid backup support battery systems, and they also do battery backup systems for factories and manufacturing plants as well. And those two stacks that you see there, they're the home batteries that you can actually purchase here in Australia. You'll see the HVM, the high voltage cabinet, as well as the LVS, I think it's called. That's the low voltage cabinet. So if you get a BYD home battery, these are the batteries that would end up on the side of your house. And behind it, you'll see all the different scenarios that BYD will manufacture commercial batteries for. And that was just like a poster of it. This is a diagram of those energy storage solutions. So they work on generator side storage, generation and storage solutions. And then it goes to grid side and even home side. They do grid level storage as well as like temporary storage. You can see at the back there, they've got a container style battery system, which is basically a battery inside of a shipping container, which can be moved around quite easily. And further out, a bit more on the automotive side of things, the intelligent driving systems they've developed over the years, and you'll see here the different D-Link infotainment screens that are available in a lot of their cars at the moment. This one here, the 15.6 inch, this is the one that you'll find in your BYD Seal or BYD C-Line 7. I believe that's one of the drones that comes with the drone systems that they provide with some of their vehicles in China as well. And now it's going into computer and server-side energy solutions. So they manufacture batteries and power supplies for server racks and cabinets and mainframes and in data centers, and which are becoming more prominent, particularly with the advent of AI. Data centers are massive, so they need to get their power from somewhere, and that power needs to be backed up. They manufacture the battery packs for them. And this is a bit of a diagram of, I believe, the battery manufacturing plant. No, it's just BYD manufacturing in general. This is just an idea of the smart manufacturing solutions that they develop. And this is a diagram of what a typical BYD manufacturing floor would look like, where it is largely automated and things are moved around on little robot platforms, such as this one. Moving along, and we go into the 12 R&D and development centers of BYD. So these are 12 specific centers that BYD focus on in terms of research, and below that you'll see individual components that those research centers have developed and you'll now find in BYD cars. So here you've got the motor assemblies, and here you've got some of the power motor assembly components as well, including the gears and housings for their hybrid EHS system. And moving further along, it starts to look into some more individual electronic components that you'll find in BYD vehicles. So first is the headlights, basically. They call it the vision system, but really it's the headlights and taillights assemblies that they manufacture. Their braking systems. So here you'll see a display of the brake calipers that BYD manufacture themselves in-house. And then you've got an example of their steering rack, which you'd find in a typical BYD vehicle, as well as an audio system that you'll find in what appears to be a Denza. And then, of course, the suspension system. And I believe on display there is the DSUS A system, I believe. I think it's the air suspension system. Can't recall off the top of my head. The wiring harness, of course, they manufacture that as well. And inside you'll see little displays of some of other components. So the sunroof, they manufacture that. The center console panels, gear selectors, they manufacture all of those. The window switches, they manufacture that. These are all components that a typical automaker probably wouldn't manufacture in-house. They might do some of them, but not all of them, not to the level that BYD do. They're doing the individual window switches. And then it goes into thermal management. So here you'll see examples of some of the heat pumps that they've manufactured to not just regulate power for the vehicle, but can also regulate temperature inside the cabin as well. And then an example of some of the ADAS hardware, including airbags. They manufacture their own airbags. And these are what the airbag assemblies look like in what appears to be a Denza vehicle. They also manufacture portable power supplies. As you can see a couple of them here. I actually wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of those, but I couldn't find them anywhere. And then it moves on to commercial vehicles, and BYD manufacture full electric buses and trucks. And to give you an idea of what it takes to move one of those things with full electric power, this is what it looks like. Integrated e-axle is what they call it. And here we can take a closer look of what makes up BYD's electric drivetrain in their passenger vehicles. In fact, it's not the individual components. These are the different generations of power systems that BYD put in their cars. And if you see along the way, it started off with a 2-in-1 and a 3-in-1 system, all the way up into the one that we see in our BYD EVs now, the 8-in-1 powertrain, which incorporates things like the electric motors, the power semiconductor, the onboard charger, DC-DC converter. That one right there, that's the one in our BYD EVs today. And lastly on the tour is a display of all the internal combustion engines that BYD manufacture and put into their passenger vehicles today. So you've got the 2-litre turbo found on the Denza B8, as well as the 1.5-litre turbo, 1.5-litre naturally aspirated, and even the Boxer engine found on the Yangwang U7 sedan. But that's it for the tour of the BYD Global Headquarters. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, subscribe to Beyond EV for more BYD videos. I've got plenty more headed your way. So that's it. That's here at BYD HQ. Now we're about to hop on the bus to head to the BYD Museum.